Welcome to part 2 of my coil project. I will just be showing you how I decorate and finish this off, and there will also be a video that wraps everything together to finish the project. Okay, this coil piece is quite a bit more firm than it was when I started, and so I'm gonna really clean it a lot with my metal rib. I am paddling and just arranging my wall so it's exactly where I need it. You can always move the clay to be where you need it. Now I'm scratching and scoring just for the first coil because this has been sitting, getting drier. I did have plastic wrapped around the very top coil, but I just like to scratch and score the first one, and then I just use the littlest amount of water, going and smoothing the coils where they attach, and then smoothing the coils together using my finger or wooden knife or another tool. See what works for you. I'm using my thumb to do the inside coils, and again, do what works for you, but I'm supporting from the outside. So as you saw in the last video, we went out and then we went in, and now I'm bringing the wall really far in to get back to that thin neck of the bottle. So I'm doing another round of coils. And this time I'm using a tool on the inside. As this gets skinnier, sometimes it's easier to use a tool on the inside. I'm using my metal rib to do some maintenance cleaning. Don't forget that as we're coiling, sometimes things can be real ugly, and that's okay. As things get drier and they're more stiff, you can really clean them up, but I just do a little bit of maintenance cleaning as I'm coiling. So doing another round of coils, and as you can see, this is pretty small. I can barely, fit one finger in, so I'm supporting from the inside, and then I'm supporting from the outside and using a tool on the interior coils. A little bit of maintenance cleaning. And I'm just going to do one more round of coils. And even if it's difficult, you always want to make sure that you smooth the inside of your coils. That will make your wall nice and strong. All right, so now I am doing the top part, the spray head. And I just did a little pinch pot for that round part that connects to the bottle. I'm using some of my leftover slabs from the slab project. And now I'm using my drawing actually to trace out the trigger, cutting that out with my needle tool. Okay, and now I'm going to use my drawing again to cut out the main part of the nozzle head. So I'm going to cut one out using my fettling knife and then place that on top of a slab and just cut out using that as my template. Okay, so forming that little guy, just trying to remember how everything fits together. I like to kind of lay it out in front of me, doing a little teeny tiny pinch pot, and that's for the nozzle. And then I'm just doing a little teeny tiny nub of clay. That's what attaches the trigger to the spray head. Okay, and there it is. There's all the pieces. All right, so gonna see how these things fit together. Just checking on each little piece. I'm closing off this form. Don't forget to poke a hole. I just pinched a little disc, and then I'm going to scratch and score and attach this to the top. Okay, so I just make sure that the clay is velcroed together really well. I pat it down. I'm not sure what I was doing, but I did smooth the edges down. And now I'm scratching and scoring the parts of the spray head together. I cut out a little square of slab to just help them sit correctly. So doing some really good scratching and scoring, referencing my picture. Now I let the pinched parts set aside and get to the same hardness as the slab parts, which were already leather hard. If I didn't do that, this little piece of clay that I'm working with would just squish when I put it in there. And what I did is I set the slabs in plastic and I let the new pieces sit out so they got a little bit more dry. Here I am just cleaning the edges of these cut slab pieces. You'll find that if you cut leather hard slabs and then smooth the edges, you're often left with a nice finished edge. It's not always what you're looking for, but it is a nice edge to think about using. This is where I figure out that I only need one of the trigger pieces. Better to have two and only need one than the other way around, I guess. All right, so I'm just scratching and scoring, checking to make sure everything fits together, using just a little bit of water. Making sure that that piece is firmly in there and using a not very wet brush just to clean up the connection. All right, so now I am using the fork to make those little ridges that are in the nozzle. I'm also going to use a needle tool to make the little mark where the cleaner actually comes out, where the water actually comes out. And now I'm marking where that will go and scratching and scoring and attaching that. All right, so now I'm just seeing how things fit together, and when I'm happy, I'm actually going to let my coil pot sit out and get drier and then wrap the other components up in plastic. I'm using the wooden rib to make that little ridge at the bottom, and now I'm going to use a coil to make that little ridge on the neck. So I rolled the coil, I put it in place, make sure it's even, I draw a little guide for myself, and then I scratch and score. Use a little bit of water. Now, because my coil is totally wet, I don't need to scratch and score that. And also, I'm going to be smoothing the coil all the way. I'm going to smush it all the way up against the coiled pot. So I don't need to scratch and score that part. I just kind of use a finger with a little bit of water and just smooth that in and then give it a good sponge. Now I'm attaching the spray nozzle to the top. And I'm just adjusting the angle to make sure it's looks appropriate. And I had put white and blue slip on the top, but I decided that yellow might look better, so I decided to just cover it up. I might add some sgraffito or mishima, but overall I am done.